The way that he describes her and talks to her. Oh my god. I don't know if that's right, but that's what we're saying. It's not what I expected at all. I don't really know what I thought Fable for the End of the World was about. Oh my god. This snow, like, hang on, we're gonna have to have a little cut to the snow and then cut back to me.
At 29 and I find myself wondering what did happen to the last 10. I ran away with my life, fast forward, never turn back again. It's kind of funny that the more we pass time, the more we...
I have a little bit of a reading update for Fable for the End of the World by Ava Reid. Oh my god. This is the first book that we're reading in my most anticipated reads of 2025. And I would probably say this is like in my top 3. The moment this was announced, I was like, oh, I need that book, because it was just giving Hunger Games in the best possible way. And I'm reading it, I'm like, wow, this is so similar to the Hunger Games, but in such a different way. Like, the technology is reminiscent of the Hunger Games, but at the same time it's so drastically different that it's hard to explain without telling you, because obviously it's not out till March. But I wanted to thank Del Rey for this copy. Like, I actually begged them. I'm pretty sure they did not appreciate my begging, but I did get the book, so you know, you win some, and in this case I did. In this we have 2 main characters in its dual point of view. The first character is Inessa, and she lives in like the lower economic part of society, basically like the slums, and climate change has really had a bad effect on them, technology, like all of these things that are very prominent now, very resonant now, have had a really bad effect, and they do not have a lot of money. But if you accumulate, I think it's like 250,000 credits worth of debt, you get put into this thing called the Lamb's Gauntlet, which is where our other main character comes into play. Melano is an angel, which is basically an assassin, and she is trained and designed, like she's human, but she's designed to kill the lambs in the Lamb's Gauntlet. So it's like a Hunger Games thing, like they are being tracked and traced, except rather than everybody fighting one another, the angels go and fight the lambs and kill the lambs, and it's like televised. So that's what we're dealing with. The 2 characters haven't met yet, but something has just been announced, so we'll see how that goes. But I am enjoying it. I'm how many pages through? 86 pages through, hoping to get to like page 200 today. It's almost 400 pages. So I always also find Ava Reid's writing to be really quick in style. I always finish Ava's books very quickly, and I'm hoping this is no different, because like I said, I'm loving it, I'm enjoying it. But I wanted to give you that little update on the book. I'm going to do some more reading now, and it's just so good. It's like, it really is so far. It's so good, and it's so immersive as well. Every line that Ava Reid writes feels as though it's been very, very specifically crafted and curated for this book, because there's not one bit where I've felt out of this world. I feel so immersed in it, and I can see it so vividly. And as you know, I struggle with seeing like buildings and locations and setting, not at all in this book, because of how well thought out it is written and how clearly it's written. So there we go. Okay, I'm gonna go do some more reading now, and I will speak to you probably a little bit later when I'm further through. So updates on Fable for the End of the World by Ava Reid. I read quite a lot yesterday, so I'm on page 240, so I have about 120 pages left of this book, and I'm really enjoying it. It's very Hunger Games-esque, which I have mentioned, but what I'm also liking is the slow burn of the relationship, because this is a queer novel as well. Let me just brush my hair. So yeah, I'm really loving how there's like this slow burn of the relationship, and also how they're learning about each other's lives. So, you know, neither of them saw each other as humans. They just saw each other as like these other things. They were very much othered to the person. And now, after they've had these conversations and they're talking to one another about things that have happened in their lives and the way the system works in their favour, and most of the time the way the system doesn't work in their favour, is really humanising them, not just to the characters in the book, but also to us as readers. I really feel like I see both sides. I don't know how it's going to play out because I know something is not going to happen. Like, it just can't happen. If it does, I'll be really shocked. But I don't know how everything else is going to come and be like and I just don't know how it's going to get sorted out. But that being said, like I said, 100 pages left, so a lot can happen in 100 pages, but I am really enjoying it, and it's not what I expected at all. I don't really know what I thought Fable for the End of the World was about, but I didn't think it was like this, and I'm really glad it is, because if you don't know, if you haven't been here for a while, one of my favourite things in books is when there's games involved. I love games, I love trials, things like that. It's like one of my, just like, I have a few favourite things, which also like includes academic rivals and vampires and witches and games and trials, things like that I absolutely love. And the fact that this is all about this game, the Lamb's Gauntlet, I really, really like. However, we have lost her brother. Like, her brother's gone off, and I want to see him again because I really love Luca, but I just don't know how it's gonna wrap up. So I'm very excited. I'm hoping to finish this today, to be honest, because like I said, 100 pages, not many pages left. But yeah, super excited about this one. Really loving it. Like, it's really good. This feels like a study in drowning to me. There's lots of things about water as well. It feels like a study in drowning meets the Hunger Games. Like, that's what it's like, which I really love because I love Ava Reed's writing. Like, it's actually insane. Good morning, guys. I'm about to start work in a second, but before what time is it? Yeah, we have time. Before I start work, I wanted to talk to you about the books that I'm reading. Oh my god, this snow, like, hang on, we're gonna have to have a little cut to the snow and then cut back to me. I hope you saw that. Okay, my two current reads. First of all, we have Fable for the End of the World and then Arcana Academy. I'm going to start with Fable because I did read and I did finish this and I really enjoyed it. I think Ava Reed is so good at doing YA fiction. I think that's like Ava Reed's specialty, because A Study in Drowning was another one where I was just like, oh my god, this is so good, this is incredible. It feels like so different. I'm thinking aloud, I think I might reread A Study in Drowning this year. I think that could be on the to-do list. Fable for the End of the World was a really great book. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I think that the plot itself was really well crafted. I also think this could be a series. Like, Ava Reed left it so that how it's left is perfectly fine, but there is an avenue to go back and fix some things, because like, it's not a clean ending. It's not clean, it's not a satisfying ending, but it's an ending that you think, okay, I get that, and I can sit and live with that. But also, if Ava Reed wanted to open this world back up, there would be a space to do that. I loved our characters in this. I thought they were really fleshed out, really well thought out. And I think I mentioned I loved how different they were and how they were seeing each other's humanity, because it felt as though they weren't just learning about each other, they were learning about themselves through each other as well. It really reminded me, especially the ending, reminded me of when Peter is in the Capitol in the Hunger Games. It felt very much like that, which is such a specific feeling to capture and put in a book, and Ava Reed did it so well. This really is a love letter to the Hunger Games, I feel like, but it feels weirdly more modern, even though it's like dystopian. Like, it feels more aligned with our world, but also it's like so Hunger Games-esque. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it was a 4-star read. Ava Reed, I love you. I'll never not love you. Your writing, chef's kiss. And then I picked up Arcana Academy. I'm settling on saying Arcana Academy. I don't know if that's right, but that's what we're saying. I am 188 pages through this book. And yes, I am enjoying it. The pacing isn't off. But there is something that's, I think it's the plot. Lots of things are happening. And I'm like, I think they're happening with such rapid dexterity that I do feel a little bit like, what's actually going on? Like, it just feels like we are moving from one thing to the other all the time. It doesn't feel like she's sat down in 180 pages. Like, she hasn't sat down, and we haven't had her, actually, that's what this is. We haven't had her alone. Like, our main character, Clara, we haven't had her completely alone in this book yet, like properly, to sit with her thoughts, to like describe what's going on. And if we have, it's a fleeting moment. She's always with someone, she's always got a motive, and I just feel like we need some stagnance. We need a little bit of static, nothing happening. So with this book, we have Clara Greysword, who it really reminds me very much of Throne of Glass. She's been in prison for a year for like a kind of serious crime, I suppose. Yeah, it's kind of serious in the eyes of the kingdom. And the royal family rule this kingdom, but like they are quite harsh. They're not very nice people. And she gets thrown into this prison for like crimes against them. So a year later, the prince is like, hey, come on, like, what did you do? Why did you do that? Who helped you in this crime? And he's like kind of interrogating her, and she is sentenced to death. And she's like, I don't actually think that's for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to escape. And she does not realise what this happens all within the first few pages. This is not spoilers. Obviously, I wouldn't do that to you guys. But she then decides she's going to escape, and she unfortunately plays right into the prince's hands. And like, again, it's very much Throne of Glass, that first bit, you know, Prince basically gets her out of prison. And she ends up in this place called Arcana Academy. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing, because the magic system I don't really understand. I'm learning more about it as we go through, but it is a really confusing magic system. So there are major arcanists and minor arcanists, and they're all about cards. Like, I think they're tarot cards. And I don't know how many there are. Can't tell you that. Can't really tell you how they work. But like, they're like a single-use card. So you ink them with the design, and like each design has a different power, and then when you use it, you get to use it once. Does that make sense? And then there are also houses they're split into in Arcana Academy, and I think that's related to the magic. And then there are also different clans as well that are related to the magic. Like, it's like we have these 3 very different magic systems that all work together, and I haven't really understood how they all work together. I haven't understood that one. It does feel like I'm reading Elise Cover, but it also feels like I am reading A Trial of Sorcerers. Like, it feels like I'm reading an older version of A Trial of Sorcerers, except our main character has way more of a backbone than Ira did in Trial of Sorcerers. Like, she had to build up to that. Clara is very much like, I don't care. I literally do not care. I'm gonna do what I want to do. So it's quite tricky for sure, because I'm enjoying it, but it is confusing because of the magic system. And then that leads me on, like, and there's definitely like a tension between Clara and the prince, which I quite like. Their, like, you can tell that he's into her and she's not into him, and I love that in a book. I'm like, so good. Like, yes, get him to pine, get him to have some tension. He yearns for her, not the other way around. Like, at the moment she's like, he is the most hated man in my life, and he's there like, she's kind of cute, you know. I quite like that. Yeah, it's quite tricky because the magic system is really hard to understand. It's not what I expected, I think. Take that as you will. So I'm hoping to reach like page 250 today, maybe 300 if I'm feeling adventurous, if I'm feeling speedy. Yesterday I managed to get to page 424. So I have like 120 pages left, but I am going to see a friend, and this book is just like a little bit too chunky. It's not quite a paperback size, and it's not quite a trade paperback size. It's like sitting in the middle of the two, and it's a bit chunky. So I'm gonna pick another one of my most anticipated reads from my cart. I also got, and I actually did get yesterday one of my most anticipated reads, which is Silver Elite. So we're gonna have a little pick through. So I'm coming back to this. I'm just picking up another book to read on the train so that I don't have to take this with me, because again, it's just too big, and I am staying over for a night, so I don't have the space. So yesterday I got Silver Elite. Thank you, Del Rey. But I think I'm going to save this one. This is an anticipated read, but I think I'm going to save it. Again, like, I'm kind of looking for like a smaller book, just in general size. So Songbird and the Heart Sing, that's already out. All of a sudden, I just don't know. Maybe First Time Caller. Okay, actually, yes. Yeah, I think we're going to do First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. Okay, this is the one we're going to choose. It's a nice little rom-com. I've heard such good things. Like, I haven't seen one bad review of this book. I'm going to put all these other ones back in the shelf on the cart. Enjoying this more now. I feel like the first 100 pages were really good, and then the like 200 pages in the middle, not so good. 100 pages after that, but now I feel like we're coming back to like the point, and I feel like all the characters are slowly becoming how they're supposed to be, and they're working together, or like working, like, you can't really figure it out yet, but I am enjoying it now. I feel very differently to how I did whenever I was talking about it properly last. I like it. I feel like it's finally got a bit more grit to it, and I think this is something I forgot to say. It feels very YA still, considering like they swear every so often, and like there's maybe a little bit of like spice, but nothing crazy. Like, there is no spice, they just mention it, but it does feel like quite YA. So yeah, but I'm enjoying it. I told you I'd be back when I have something to say when I finished a book, and I finished Arcana Academy. So before I talk about that, I'm also 213 pages through First Time Caller, and all I will say is I love this book. It's what I think a romance should be. It doesn't instantly make you believe the two characters are in love. It's not like this pull that they have. It's them getting to know each other in the context of which they're in, and then exploring that, and then realizing they have a little crush on each other, and it goes from there. So yeah, loving this so far, but we'll talk about this in more detail later once I finish it. But Arcana Academy, I feel like my relationship to this book is really interesting, because on the one hand, those final 150 pages, oh my god, the book was so good. That, like, the ending, phenomenal. The relationship of Kalis and Clara just blew up, and I just didn't expect it to go the way that it did. But then there were like 300 pages in the middle where I just didn't care. I really didn't enjoy the book. I thought it dragged. So like the first 100 pages, gorgeous. Then we hit a snag for 300 pages, so more than half the book, where nothing was really happening. Like, it felt like just time jumps. It was like, and then this happened, and then a week later this, and then a week later this, and then the day after. Like, the pacing was strange, because things just kept happening, and there was no break. It didn't get to relent at any point. Also, I'm missing a ring. I've dropped it in my drink. Like, literally, my ring I was wearing, I was messing with it over my cup like an idiot. and somewhere in here is my ring. But then the final like 150 pages, I was eating up. I was like, this is what I felt like I was promised whole book, because we finally had some like a snag of tension, like the tension snagged between Kalis and Clara, and you understood what their relationship was. It wasn't this grand romantic thing. It was a, I feel attracted to you and let's just see what happens. They also both understood where they on like this, there's not a war, but if there was, which side of the war they would be on. And the fact is, they can't be on the same side because he's the prince and she's like this rough, tough, what is it, like rapscallion, I don't know what the word is, okay? But like, she's just not, she doesn't fit into what he needs. They have this really weird dynamic between the two. The way that he just describes her and talks to her, oh my god. Like, if anybody has the ARC copy, I'm sure in the actual book it will be a different page, but just for reference, it's chapter 49 and it's like, and it's page 464 in the ARC. It will probably be different in the actual book, but it's the page before, like this page, it's this one here, like just before the chapter ends, this whole section here. I was sat there reading it like gasping for breath because it was just beautiful. Like, Elise Cove managed to create such a warmth from Kalis at points, and it's really interesting to see how he felt about her, because as a reader you can tell how he feels about her, but you can imagine that Clara doesn't see it that way, because obviously she's like first-hand experiencing this and not reading about it like us as readers are. So yeah, I can't wait for book 2. Like, I'm really glad that ending was very different, and I feel like by the end Elise Cove found the story. She found what she wanted to tell us. I ended up giving this, what did I give this? 4 stars. I was really it was feeling, like I said, for the middle part it was feeling like a 3-star, but then when I finished it I just thought, no, like I can't give this 3 stars because it's not. It was so redeemable, and I think it shows a lot about how an ending really can change the entirety of the book. There is so much resting on the ending, on the finale of a book, whether that be good or bad. So now I'm going to finish off reading First Time Caller. I have like 200 pages left, I think. Oh, I'm gonna finish reading this hopefully today. I make no promises because I am working and then I'm going to the cinema like straight after work to go see We Live in Time, which I can't bloody wait for. I'm excited. I love Florence Pugh. I love Andrew Garfield. I think the film's gonna make me cry. You know when you read a book and you're like so ready to finish it, but like not because it's bad, but because you're like, oh my god, I just want to finish this book and know the whole story. That's how I feel about this. So yeah, I'm really, really loving it. The day before, I finished First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. I had 50 pages left and I read it, loved it, absolutely ate this up. What I loved so much about this book was it's a romance, and you can really feel that it's a romance. However, it feels so hopeful, and I know so many romances do, but what a lot of romances do that I really don't like is they will have like the epilogue where they get married and run off into the sunset and everything's great, but I'm not a huge fan of that. So with this one, it's just, you're just getting to see the beginning of the relationship, and that's like enough for me, especially because Lucy, who is a main character, really struggles with believing that love actually exists for her, and she feels so lonely even though she's surrounded by people she loves. And so when she meets Aiden, she doesn't even like straight away, like they aren't a thing, but very slowly but surely they start to have this like connection to one another, and they like each other as friends, which is so important. So I gave this a 4.75 stars. I really, really enjoyed this book. I think this is like my favorite one out of the 3 that I've read, and these were all really highly anticipated reads for me. And although like this one kind of let me down, like Arcana Academy, yes, I enjoyed, I gave it 4 stars. I was fully expecting this to be higher than a 4 because it just sounded like everything I wanted. But again, those middle 300 pages just dragged and lagged a little bit. Fable for the End of the World, incredible, loved this. Again, this was also a 4-star read. I just feel like Ava Reed's writing is so beautiful and hits so many hard hitting topics very well. And then obviously First Time Caller was 4.75. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed me reading my most anticipated reads of 2025. I'm sure there will be another video to this because there are still so many books on my TBR carts and also so many other books coming out this year that I just cannot wait for. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you all in my next one.